Hello, people. I'm kcStranger. This is the Crystal Tomb. These are 3 out of my 4 players. The 4th should be here shortly. No doubt coming in via XSplit broadcaster in the name of Tractor Blend, as we always are. This is the Crystal Tomb. Last time, the party brushed themselves off from their battle with Blindploop, narrowly saving Maxis from a terrible disease inflicted by the aboleth, and resting for a night in the cavern. The next day, they continued towards the Quotoa city. Along the way, the party passed a strange poem that 3 of them had seen on their first visit. Quizmiligus asked some questions and learned of the poem's continuation, or maybe an earlier stanza, but in the end, the mystery remained. Approaching the Quotoa city of Indplur, the party was spotted as Quizmiligus peered out towards the city. To their pleasant surprise, though, the party was greeted as the new gods of the Quotoa, and they eagerly fell into their new role. Surprisingly, they were also greeted by Nistia Cantaniel, the half-elf who, in a previous timeline, had been the High Priestess of Innis. So again, sort of older, middle-aged female half-elf. Her conversation with Fallon and Kane, who remembered her from that time before, was rather confused. But Quizmiligus stepped forward, took her hand, and asked for a tour of the village. And that is going to be where we pick up. But before we jump over to Quizmiligus, Colleen, you and Maxis have sort of, you're back a bit further from the others who sort of rushed up to meet with Nistia. And as you glance away from the Quotoa and look up at Maxis, you realize that he suddenly, or that he has a strangely distant look in his eyes. He sort of grunts and asks you to just wait there for a moment. You watch as he starts unpacking a number of his things into the bag of holding, and finally lifts off the pink stone that's hanging around his neck, and looks at you and tells you that he's got an odd feeling about something. He's not sure if he'll be coming back. And incidentally, what is happening is Maxis's work situation is such that, or Prophet's work situation is such that he doesn't quite know when he'll be regularly available again. So his character's departing for an indefinite period.
No.
What? Again?
Yeah. They have jobs and
Another one
real
bites
life.
dust.
Pretty much. So I'm not going to try to like role play this too much, but what's going to happen with him is he'll give you all that stuff. So you all still have access to the bag of holding. Colleen, you currently, I think, now have the bag of holding, which, if I remember correctly, does he actually have... Like, the bag of holding itself does weigh a pound. Yeah, there it is. So go ahead and add that to your inventory, and also add the Creation Stone Kyril to your inventory. I don't know that he actually... I mean, I won't worry too much about the weight on that. All good there?
How much does the creation stone weigh?
Just don't worry about it. Unless, I don't know, did I give you a weight
Well,
for the other ones?
No, but I'm encumbered anyway with the bag of holding. I was right at the
Okay,
cusp.
got it.
And I have a bag of hiding too.
Yes. So yeah, you can sort that one out. But at the moment, it's not that big a deal.
I mean, I guess if I'm holding the bag of holding, I could put some of my opponents into it,
You
but
could. Okay, so and you watch as Maxis sort of wanders. The Quotoa are again sort of in two clusters, leaving you sort of an aisle that you can walk down. Maxis wanders all the way around outside of that, and although you see them sort of turning and cheering as he walks past, curiously, none of them follow him, and he walks completely away, and all of their attention turns back on the rest of you as he sort of departs towards the far side of the cavern.
Colleen would have words for this, but I know it has to be.
I mean, if there's something important, we can take a moment and role play it. I'm just, I'd be role playing for Maxis, so.
It's not the same.
Incidentally, he may briefly rejoin us some night when he has time, and you might actually get to see what's going to happen. I did write something out, and we were planning on doing it, but he just couldn't make it tonight.
Okay, well, we'll see. Goodbye forever.
All right. So yeah. All right. So we pick up from there. So Colleen, I mean, I imagine, Colleen is a little bit sort of. Well, I don't know. How does Colleen react?
I'd be pretty torn up about that, honestly.
Do you eventually wander forward back to the rest of the group, or
No,
okay, just remain where you are?
I don't really care what they're doing right now. I'm at a loss.
Okay. You sort of stand near the cavern wall, and again, the Quotoa
Horde.
they don't like swarm you or anything. They just sort of remain where they are, and actually, as Quizmiligus steps forward and starts to wander away with Nistia, the Quotoa actually start to disperse. Although, let me see here. Quizmiligus is indeed going to wander away from the group with Nistia. Fallon and Kane, are you going with Quizmiligus or are you hanging behind?
Where's he going?
He just asked Nistia to show him around the village.
Do I notice the lack of Colleen?
I mean, you'd see her sort of still standing back closer to where you initially came down into the cavern. You would at this point notice the lack of Maxis.
Okay. Wait, she's up top?
No, she's down on the floor now.
I'll follow Quizzy.
I will
Alright.
go investigate the disappearance of Maxis.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that one first. So, Colleen, you're sort of standing a little stunned back by the cavern wall. The Quoto are starting to disperse a little bit, although they're still sort of chortling excitedly. And Kane walks up to you.
Yo, Colleen, you alright?
I don't really know.
Where'd Maxis go?
He's gone, and I don't know if he'll be coming back.
Wait, he just left?
Yeah, he
Was it because of Bloomloop?
no. I
Working
don't
rules.
think something like that would affect him. He survived the whole maelstrom.
He was spinning for a long time.
He just said he had something else he needed to do. He had a bad feeling about something.
Could've given him a
Colleen...
sending.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead and say what you're going to say, Kane.
I said he could have given him a sending stone, but I guess he had to go really fast.
As Kane is saying that, Colleen, you become aware of Curil standing next to Kane. Kane, you don't see her yet. Although you do
Restless.
hear something faint, I mean, it makes you think that maybe something's happening somewhere else in the cavern that you can't see. You know, like when you think you heard something, but you're not quite sure. But Colleen, you hear very definitely, when a goddess calls, most are bound to answer.
I didn't really take Maxis as the goddess following sort.
He's not. It was, well, suffice to say, I was a bit in his head at the time, and it was a bit more forceful than that. She thinks for a moment. Did you all... And Kane, you're absolutely hearing Colleen talking to somebody at this point. Did you see something while you were fighting the aboleth?
I mean, I saw many things. Did you not experience that?
Only indirectly.
Was enlightening, to say the least. It was definitely an experience.
Did you see any people, I guess?
I remember seeing mostly colors.
Colors?
Yeah, it was a lot of spectrums.
Well, I'm not sure exactly who it was. Suffice to say, someone is intervening with that friend of yours. She shrugs. For all I know, it's for the best. But, well, she thinks for a moment. I wouldn't quite say that he had no free will in the matter, only that not many would have resisted the compulsion that was just laid on him. She frowns a little bit. I think he'll be okay.
I mean, he survived that last encounter. I don't worry for his safety. I'm just, thrown off. I think we'll all have the right to go where we want to go, but it's still sad to see him go.
Right. Well, and she smiles for a moment as as Lacidel and Cenarian appear at either side of her. And she says, "At least I'm glad he left me behind." And she smiles and sort of fades again.
I would like to see if it's possible that I can fuse all the stones together somehow.
You're gonna do this right now?
Yeah.
Also, Kane, Colleen has been talking to the air for a bit.
Yeah, no, Kate's been there talking to the voices in the head.
That's fair.
He understands.
Okay. So, Colleen, I'm sorry. You gonna do this right now? Or you gonna try to go somewhere else first?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. I feel compelled.
You want to try to fuse them together.
Yeah.
How
What you
are you
doing there?
attempting this?
Well, my first thought was I could do soul meld, and we could do some kind of connection between all of them and push the limits, or I could combine it with maybe the entropy spell you gave me. Maybe they were whole at some point, and I could go about it that way.
That's interesting. I mean, I'm trying to think if... I don't really think this is the kind of thing that you would have, like, applicable background knowledge about. So, what do you want to try?
I would like to try the soul meld first. If
Okay.
I see them as individual souls, so if I can put them together, but push that spell to the limit of it. I'm hoping I can bring them all together permanently.
Okay, so let me see. So this is you plus them, is what you're doing. What
Yeah.
kind of connection are you making?
I would do an empathic connection.
What do
Okay.
I see during this?
I mean, this probably wouldn't look like much, actually. You would just see, I mean, I imagine, I guess, Colleen, you sort of, do you like hold all three stones together?
Yeah.
Or so you
Do
just
like
see her,
one of-
she takes these uh, gemstones, basically, that you've been collecting. There's a pink one, a yellow one, sort of an amber yellow, and a light blue. And she just sort of holds them together, and you see sort of a look of concentration that reminds you of when she's casting a spell. So yeah,
Hold on, sorry. Sorry. Can I look through the looking glass?
the looking glass.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. You pull that out. Let's actually. All right. So
I have a curiosity. It must be satisfied.
yeah, right. Okay, so I'm remembering. Okay, this is interesting. All right, so I'll narrate this as it goes. So the first thing that you will notice as you pull out the looking glass is that that thread of red crystal that others have seen when looking through it. You see that it does not, in fact, lead back through the hole that you came down into the village from. It leads, I guess, probably around the village and towards the back of the cavern that you're in.
Wait, do I know what's the back of the cavern?
Um, well, you were here once before. There are a couple of tunnels that seem to lead away from the village that you're in. You only took one of them before, and that's how you wound up in the ruined city where the Qui-Gons were.
I appreciate you calling them Qui-Gon.
I am talking to you.
Interesting. Ooh, this is
Um,
interesting.
although
We're following the red
you
line.
can't see all the way to the other end of the cavern to know if that's exactly the way it goes. But I imagine you're using it to look at Colleen, actually, at this point. All right. So, Colleen, you go ahead and activate this ability. Kane, as she does, let me think. You've seen all three of the spirits in the creation stones before. Kirill, Lacidel, and Cenarian. Again, they don't really look like siblings. Kirill is sort of a tall, slender girl with long black hair. Sorry, I'm noticing Fallon laughing. Lacidel sort of has a sort of a like tan colored skin, sandy brown hair. Um, Sort of seems like the easygoing sort. Cenarian has very dark skin and bright blue eyes, and sort of a serious expression on his face. As Colleen, as you activate this ability, I need you to give me a wisdom saving throw.
Do I get to
Wisdom
watch Clean die?
save throw.
Mm-hmm.
She dies a second time in front of her face.
That's okay. Bad.
Kane, Colleen faints. Colleen, here is what you experience.
I take all the stones.
Monster.
I'm assuming that was a joke, but let me know if it wasn't.
No, Kate can't help it. He takes all the stones.
Oh wait,
You are-
whoops! I just realized I screwed that up. Yeah. So oh whatever.
I
I won't
do
worry
take
about
them
that.
though. How much do they weigh?
Wait, are you serious?
Take the stone.
I mean, I guess she was holding them, so she would drop them at this point.
Yes.
Don't worry about the weight on them. You have 3
Okay.
creation stones.
That's recreation too.
Okay, so Colleen, as you open this connection, you, for a brief moment, see all 3 of the spirits that inhabit these objects, and their eyes are very wide as they look at you. And then suddenly, more... What? How shall I put this? You feel as if not just every emotion or a deeper feeling or anything like that has flooded into you, but as if the very essence of surprise, the thing from which all joys are wrought, curiosity, a little bit of alarm, a little bit of wariness, even. All of these feelings flood into you, and again, for a brief moment, how should I put this? There's always this question of like, is love an actual thing, or is it just a way that we describe certain states of matter or feeling certain ways or something like that? And in that moment, you know that all of these emotions are real. All of these, all these thoughts and feelings are real in the same way that the rock of the cave floor and the skin of your hands is real. And you briefly glimpse that insight before it completely overwhelms you.
I imagine that would be very overwhelming.
All right,
But
and
did
we're
this to
gonna
myself.
jump over to Quizmilligus and Fallon. So Quizmilligus, you are walking alongside Nistia. Fallon, you sort of lag behind for a moment, and then I imagine you catch up, more or less. Gamork sort of trotting along just slightly behind you. Generically, I will say whatever conversation is happening is going to be over her showing you basically the following things. So I'll just give you the flash overview of the areas of the city, and then we can actually go to the conversation. So there is a temple at the center of the city. That's going to be where Nistia lives, where the priests live and their attendants. Most of the village's wealth is going to be there. This area over here is mostly sort of workshops and the closest thing that the Quotoa have to like factories. So like armories, forges, stonesmiths, where they make all their equipment, that sort of thing. This area is sort of, I mean, it's not like this is a super wealthy village, but this is where the higher class Quotoa live. This field to the right is where they grow sort of this bluish fungus that's like, it's basically their wheat. It's the staple of their diets. This area down here is sort of a market, and there's also like some like restaurants, taverns, that sort of thing. It's like the commercial area. And incidentally, I have these drawn with like sharp lines. It would be a lot more sort of, you know, it wouldn't be this rigid. Like this is not to scale. But there would be kind of a little path in between all these areas. And then over here is sort of, they've got some Rothe, which are Underdark cows, basically, that basically they're ranchers. And this is where most of the people in the village live. So you know, it's underground life. At any time, there's pretty much constant activity in the village, and as you watch the Quotoa sort of return to their daily duties, some of them would actually just be going back to their own homes. Some of them would be going to tend to things in these various areas, and some would be wandering off down some of these other passageways. So yeah, so we'll say that you are about here, and you're probably gonna sort of walk around like this. Um, okay, so with that, then let's go to your conversation. So Nissia sort of, I don't know. Did you have Nissia would sort of be explaining what you're seeing? Did you want to jump right in and start asking her questions, or do you want to wait to see what she says?
Don't we want to find out what kind of army they have? They can
Yeah. So since Quizmiligus is the one who kind of took her away, he looks very interested, and incredibly happy. He has never been happier in his entire. Well, that's untrue, but in these past few months, he hasn't been this happy in a long time. And kind of as we're passing the workshops, he says, "Do you have any taverns in this village?"
So at this point, you're sort of right, like in this area.
Okay.
And she sort of points back past the pen where the where the Rothe are, and says, "The best one in town is back there. I can't say the Quotoa are the most magnificent of chefs, but you should find something palatable there."
Excellent, excellent. We'll work on those shortly. Um,
And she shrugs for a moment and says, "And of course, we have accommodations at the temple if you would like to come dine with me and with and actually let me get their names, Pruldin and Ilderup, the priests."
yes, yes, that's very interesting. What are you doing down here?
She looks vaguely confused for just a moment, and then she says, "I'm tending to this village, as I have for many years."
I'm sorry to essentially just blurt that out, but finding a half elf in the Underdark with these folk feels odd to me.
She pauses for a moment and looks at you and says, "Half elf. Well, where should I be?"
One would assume above ground in. Okay, Quizmelius knows the map and landscape a lot better than Didja does.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever, because I also was it a half elf territory or just like
Yeah, so let me show that briefly. There is no half elf territory.
it's just like elf territory?
Yeah, like
yeah.
half elves are not like especially rare, but there's always a story when you've got a half elf, basically. So they
Right.
could be, you know, anywhere in this area, probably slightly more common in the human territory than in the elven territory.
So you said more common in human territory?
Yeah.
All right, so Quizmilius will respond. Perhaps Citadel or anywhere within the typical human or elven territories. This is a particularly odd place to find, someone like you.
She cocks her head and looks at you and says, "And where are these lands that you speak of?"
Quizmilius is just gonna kind of look at her, kind of out of the corner of his eye, and never mind. Show me this temple you've talked about. It sounds wonderful.
Very well. And she sort of looks back at you as well. Sort of gives you a long look, but then nod. So at this point, you've sort of passed this opening over here. You can see that it goes back some distance that you can't tell into a larger cavern. So you wander up this way in between sort of the, as I said, the working class, if you will, housing past sort of the forges and such. You hear distantly the sound of like metal clanging and stuff like that, and the occasional, little, whatever random fish people sound. And you wander up towards the temple. Actually, come to think of it, I didn't. Can I easily find this? I think it's this one. Yeah, that's it. Let me very briefly prepare a map. And I'm just going to delete a bunch of stuff that was on it. Or actually, you know what? No, this isn't much of a map. Okay, so yeah, you walk up the centerway, and it is actually, I will get this much from it. The temple's fairly large. It's probably probably about 400 feet long by 300 feet wide, something like that, roughly rectangular. Or actually, no, I take that back. It's 400 feet long by about 100 feet the other direction. And it has wide stairs that lead up to it on either side. It's surrounded by torches. And seems what? The level of craftsmanship is not perfect, but it is higher for certain than anything else in this particular village. And actually, as you look at it, you almost get the sense that the basic structure was maybe laid out by someone else, and then the Kotoa sort of filled it in, if you will. It appears to be 2 stories, incidentally. Saying anything particular as she actually takes you all the way up and in?
No. I'll just head in with her.
Okay, and of course Fallon pipe in at any time. And as you get to the bottom of the stairs, she actually pauses for a moment, and she says, it occurs to me, we walked away, you had friends with you. Should I send for them?
Quiz will just look at Fallon.
Yeah, yes.
Very well. She says, follow me. And she...
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
The lesser god should be involved, I guess.
She guides you up the stairs into the temple. There's sort of a double door at the front that she produces a small key. Or actually, no, would she? No, she would just go up and knock. An attendant would open the door. She sort of whispers a couple words to it, and then you hear a few more, fish people shouts, and a pair of them go sort of trotting away from the temple, back out the way you came. Going inside, there's sort of actually surprisingly pleasantly appointed room. Like so you're in sort of an entry room. There's a stone floor, but there are furnishings. There's a few chairs. You see on one side a curtain that proves to be just an area to sort of store things as you go in. Past the entry vestibule, there is sort of a what appears to be some sort of inner sanctuary or gathering place inside. But Nistia guides you left as you come in into a hallway. There's a few side rooms, but she'll actually guide you towards stairs that go to the upper floors. She takes you up, again, past another couple attendants, and into basically a lounge. There's a few sort of wide couches that are actually cushioned. You're not quite sure what is in the cushions. It doesn't feel like cotton or anything like that. Or like down or anything like that. It has a much more it has less give to it, almost like it's filled with some kind of hair or something like that, but it's not uncomfortable. And she looks back at you and says, would you like anything to eat or drink?
I wouldn't mind an ale.
Absolutely. She sort of goes back out the front, says a few words, and then comes back in and says, there'll be refreshments shortly. And please, take a seat.
So how does this city run exactly? How do you handle trade, and how do you protect yourself?
She smiles weakly and says, well, protection is mostly by being not, well, the Quotoa are not quite valuable enough or controllable enough to be worth fighting for most down here. She shrugs. We farm, we ranch, we forge basic tools and such, and we trade with the peoples around us. The Durgar to the north. And actually, how would they navigate down there? I'm trying to think about this.
I mean, you could technically still establish a north.
Yeah, you could. I'm just gonna roll with that. The Durgar to the north, the Drow to the east, and the Mind Flayers to the south.
How are those mind flayers?
How are they?
Yeah, how do you get along with them? What can you tell me about them? They sound exciting.
She sort of leans back a little bit and says, well, they are treacherous, to say the least. Frankly, most peoples they encounter, they enslave. And these folk, well, are you aware of the history of how the Quotoa came to be? What they are?
I'm not. I can't speak for Fallon.
You might want to air it out for our friend here.
The short version is that they were some of the... LOL. The short version is... Yeah. Is that they were some of the earliest slaves of the Mind Flayers, and, well, I mean, you can see most of them are a little bit loose in the head. Centuries of psychological slavery will do that. Finally, the Illithids decided they were more use-free than not. So here they struck out on their own, and here they are.
Is there any ill will in this village towards the Illithid?
She leans back a little bit and says, perhaps with the priests, but their attendants, but I doubt the rest even remember. I only know indirectly. I wasn't here for any of it. They have certain writings. It's frankly distant past at this point.
When did you arrive in the village?
She pauses for a moment. Give me insight.
Ooh. Shoot, I'm on my character sheet.
Yeah, Fallon, you can do that too.
You said insight?
Mm-hmm.
I think it worked.
Okay.
Well,
She her eyes widen slightly for a moment, and then she says, I don't know, I somehow feel like I've always been here.
Well, Fallon, I don't know about you, but I think that the coming of Oh, I guess Quiz wouldn't really know that Maxis is gone. Of 5 or so new gods would call for celebration. Perhaps a merry good time.
I think I know what you mean. I can help with that.
At this point, one of the Quotoa comes back in with sort of a large platter. On it are a few mugs with an ale that smells just slightly off, but maybe it'll be all right. There are also how shall I put this? Basically, there are some roasted and buttered large slices of fungus.
Hmm.
And
I'm gonna
sets that down
whisper
on a
to-
table in the middle.
Noticing the butter, I'm going to whisper to Fallon, where do you think they get the dairy?
Did we see the roast? Right?
Yes, you
or
did.
Rosie? You see those
Oh.
big furry brown cows?
Oh, I didn't realize you said there were cows. Is that
Yeah,
what
yeah, they're
those-
basically Underdark cows.
Well, I thought those were rocks, and I wasn't paying attention to you speaking. So, quiz missed something. My day.
No, that's all
All
right.
right.
I honestly just kind of said butter without really being very thoughtful about it. And then when you asked, I was like, oh no, there is a good reason. All right.
I try some buttered fungus.
So
I
Go
tell
ahead, sir.
Nistia for the celebration we're going to have, I'm going to need a tent.
A tent.
Oh.
She says, I'm sure that can be arranged. Quizmiligus, as you bite into the fungus, it's actually surprisingly good. It's kind of like if you've ever had a grilled portobello mushroom.
I
Kinda
have
like
not,
that.
but I can imagine.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's sort of hearty, almost a little bit meaty, but the the nice amount of butter gives it. I don't know, what does butter taste like? It's buttery. It's good.
Yeah, you don't have to explain that one.
Right. So yeah, and at this point, let's jump back over to the others. Colleen, you aren't unconscious for very long. You open up your eyes. Well, although you wouldn't be quite sure of that. Kane, Colleen isn't unconscious for long. In fact, barely long enough. Like you've only just sort of taken the stones. And are you gonna like stash them away somewhere or?
Yeah, it's my bag.
Okay.
Just like pockets, pockets.
Yeah. So you've
Wait.
only like just sort of managed that and returned to like neutral posture.
Yeah,
When-
like I feel like I should like get like bonus points because I did immediately say Kane takes the stones like as soon as she passed out.
I mean, you were pretty close.
Okay.
So like just as you managed to sort of return to neutral posture, Colleen, your eyes flutter open a bit, and already that very intense feeling that you had is starting to fade. It's like when you know that you're in the process of forgetting a dream. And if you think about it really hard, you can commit to memory certain thoughts and feelings about it, but you know it's fading. That's sort of the state you're in right now.
Okay.
You okay, Colleen?
The stones.
What about the stones? They just kind of disappeared. I thought that was you.
I'm gonna insight check him.
Yeah, Colleen, insight, Kane, deception.
His is way higher than mine. I don't make insight checks.
Oh.
But Kane.
I mean, so here's the thing. I'm not saying you believe him because it's Kane, but he doesn't give anything away.
Yeah. Kane, if you've seen those stones, they're very, very important to me. If they just
I mean,
disappeared,
doing some magic and like this is kind of light. You passed out. the stones are gone.
At that moment, Cenarian appears next to Kane, Colleen, and says, "We're in his bag," and then disappears.
Fucking stitches.
I know you have stones.
Did I see/hear that too?
You know what? Give me. How do I want to do this? Because it's not really quite perception.
It's
Give me
kind of not
just give me wisdom, just straight wisdom.
to see if I heard/saw the apparition.
Basically.
Well,
That same sort of "was there a noise" feeling from before, that's what you got.
dang it.
So actually, you know what? I'll tell you what. Give me intelligence.
Oh boy.
You usually
Even-
crit these.
Even no, only Arcana.
Yeah, no, you don't put 2 and 2 together. You're just like, did I hear something? Eh.
Wait, so what did you say, Colleen, just now?
I know you have the stones. I would really appreciate that you turn them to me.
Here's the thing. I really want that amulet.
Don't have the amulet.
Can you help me get it?
Don't even know who has the amulet right now.
That's where the helping part comes in.
I don't see why you want to hold my stones for ransom.
And
Why you
Kane,
would-
you hear
People-
sort of a
people like
mildly
you.
scolding voice in the back of your head that
No,
says,
go away, voice in my head.
that says, "Yes, Kane, is this really the battle you want to be fighting?"
I
Did
just want to
Hold
help.
on. Did you interject a conscience for Kane into the game?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, that
Kane
was for
has
me.
gotten very annoying. But he breaks.
It's less of a conscience and just more someone, and more like someone who's more practical about when to be devious. Anyways.
I just need you. I just people like you. You know, I thought maybe you would be able to help me out.
Well, maybe if you weren't holding people's things for ransom.
Yes,
don't know,
Kane,
they were
you could
just
really
there.
do more to engender trust.
Shut up, you. Didn't say that out loud, by the way.
Kane,
I don't know. They were
are you
just
seeing
there.
things?
My old instinct kicked in. We're all seeing things, Colleen. It doesn't like. Is this a new thing? You had a
Well,
whole
I
conversation. just
usually
now.
see things, but you guys think I'm crazy.
No, we
So-
know you're crazy. Like, I just kind of motions for the zombies, but that's fine.
Kane, am I going to have to take forceful measures again? I'm trying to give you a chance here.
Hey, man. Just. Shh. I start doing hand motions at the voice in my head because that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just okay. Fine. Here. Like, give the stones. But I want that amulet really badly.
I don't care if you have the amulet or not. That's
can you
up
help me
with
get it?
you and whoever holds it.
Can you help me get it?
I
Well, the only person left, unless it's in the bag I'm holding, is Fallon. Since Quiz doesn't have any and everyone else is gone. Unless, wait, did someone take a rest with them before they left or before? Did Hillel take one with him? He is a dragon spirit.
No, you all have them. So as
No, Kane's just
Colleen
freaking out, like, as
tucks
Kane.
away the creation stones, let me see. You know what? Both of you give me a perception. It's not a big deal, but let's just see who
Yeah.
notices first.
Though Kane did have like no plan with the stones. He just saw them. Grab-
Yeah, no, it's force of habit. So Colleen, you're the first to notice
Wait.
that two of the Quotoa, incidentally, two who are they're sort of carrying the same sort of like pincer staves that as the ones that you fought earlier. they sort of come running up towards you. So momentarily you will be greeted. Okay.
Stop me up!
Oh, there are options.
Wait, the ones that did what?
No, I mean they are similarly outfitted as the ones that you fought. That's my only point.
Oh, we fought before?
Yeah, these aren't the ones you fought before. You killed those ones.
But they're dressed like them, though.
Yeah.
And I have the head of their priest guy in my hands.
Yes. Well, one of their priest guys.
Yeah. The main one. Yeah. I say,
Go ahead.
halt!
They stop. They're still about 100 feet away from you.
Bow before us.
They sort of look at each other, and then they drop to their knees and bow their heads all the way to the ground.
Do they understand, though?
Oh, no, that's a good point. They wouldn't. So you're right. So actually, as you say that,
I hold
Kane...
up my hand.
Yeah, you hold up your hands and they stop. But then when you say bow before us, they just sort of stare at you, confused. And one of them garbles out in Undercommon. We do not understand the language of the great god. What does the great god instruct us?
I point down.
They look down.
Damn it. It's like hurting canes.
I just put a hand over my mouth.
Lane, do you speak fish shit?
You remember that I spoke small the last time we...
Did she speak last time? I wasn't with you last time.
I was
like,
the
well,
whole...
I was, but like I was just in the temple, and then you guys had me get.
No,
Yeah,
but the whole reason we got there is because I decided to befriend them instead of kill them all from
I
the
split up
beginning.
from the group. Remember, from the very beginning, I wasn't with you guys.
Yeah, you
That
were
is
creeping
true.
around, but
All right,
they didn't
well,
attack us because I
Clean.
talked.
Tell them what I said. Tell them to bow, Colleen.
I tell them that Kane is...
Don't you do it.
I feel like I know where your head's at. I don't want it to happen.
Cain will slay the heathens. Disobey their gods.
Would Colleen do this? Nobody else but Kane.
Hey, who cares if he can hear you in real? Can't hear you in the game, and that's what matters.
Colleen tells the Krotoa that Kane is feeling emasculated and uncertain of himself right now. And does not want them to come here.
They sort of look at each other, and then they look up at you, and they nod, and let me see.
I'm still pointing.
One of them. Right. One of them shouts back to you, Colleen. We have been sent to guide you to our temple. I am sure that there, the great blue god can find, he looks at the other one. The other one says, self-esteem.
So as they continue to not be bowing, as I point down, and I trust Colleen to have clear message. I pull a dagger out. It's like, how dare you disobey your gods? Bow.
Kane, the Krotoa are here to escort you to your chambers.
They sort of take a step back and they look visibly afraid. They just see you pointing down. One of them just sort of like lies on the ground. The other one starts digging into the rock with sort of a knife that he's carrying.
Wait, I want to see where this is going. He's digging. I want to see how far he'll dig.
He's scraping away the rock very slowly.
Lee, aren't you curious to see how long he'll dig for?
I mean... No, not really. We're already underground. It's all underground.
You're no fun. Alright. They've obeyed
And then
my
the one
commands.
who
I put the
the
dagger
one
away.
okay,
I
and
just kind of
then
nodded.
yeah, so the one stops and says, "Have we done as the great god demands?"
Oh, you're doing fine. Kane is just
I
difficult.
already nodded as they put the dagger away. God.
Okay, we take you to the temple now.
Yes, Kane, please allow your entourage to escort you to the temple.
Aren't you coming with us?
Oh, I'll be along.
You should come with us.
I have a bit of a herd to move.
Nah, just come with us.
One of them says, and actually, let me think how to refer to you. Does the great goddess desire lodgings or accommodations for her servants, whom she arrived here with?
No, that's fine. They can. I'll keep them with me.
Okay. You follow us then?
Yes, I'll be along. Be right with you.
Do you need to do something first? That's fine, of course. And he sort of waves his hands. But we were sent here to guide you back.
I'll follow them, but just at a distance further from Kane. Or if Kane's gonna follow behind, then I'll follow more closely.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay near the Kuratoa, but just like stare with like my eyes kind of widened at like one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just keeping a
So
straight
I'll
face.
follow
But
from the back.
just doing
with
this.
me.
Yep. Okay, I got it. They guide you straight up the center of the town. It is actually a fair walk. It takes you probably about 5 minutes to get all the way to the center of the village. There's sort of a large pasture where there's sort of like lots of moss and a little bit of fungus growing on the floor, and you see these underdark cows grazing. One of them moves aggressively towards you at one point. And to the right, you see what appear to be a few shops. This very large tavern down here you pass early on. And you make your way to the temple. You get let in similarly as before. As you pass in, one of the Koto addresses you, Colleen. Will your servants be going upstairs with you?
That's all right with you.
Whatever you desire. Just making sure we are serving as you like. And he sort of nervously steps back and shows you to the stairs.
I keep staring down the same guy, like just one of them, like
Mhm.
the two. I just keep staring straight at him.
Are you actively trying to intimidate him?
I want
You
to
know what?
like.
Actually, just roll me intimidation anyway, because he would be, regardless.
Even if it's not intimidating, I just want to like unnerve him. Like
Yeah. No, roll it
what's wrong
anyway.
with this guy?
Reflexively, as you sort of walk past him, he drops to his knees and bows.
I nod at him
Okay.
and give him thumbs up.
Incidentally, quiz, Fowlin. Are either of you are you trying the ale?
Drink the Kool-Aid. Drink the Kool-Aid.
I feel like it's an obvious KC question.
Quiz
you
picks
guys-
it up and kind of swirls it in front of him a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and looks up at Fallon.
Can I smell it?
Yeah, absolutely. It smells weirdly briny. Weirdly sort of savory, like like a beer that has like a really really high malt content. And it doesn't It doesn't smell bad, just off as compared to what you're used to.
I'm gonna let Gamork smell it.
Well, shit. What would you like to know about it? Would you like to know where all the components were harvested? What the chemical composition is? I can give you a gas chromatograph if you prefer.
I mean, what's the ABV or what, you know, the
Yeah.
alcohol content?
What's the pH?
Yeah. I mean, the alcohol
Is it
content.
poison?
It's like around 5%. It's going to be. They don't have proper, grain down here. But what they actually do is there's a certain fungus that they harvest the fruiting bodies of it and process it similarly to what you might do with grain heads. And Gamork, of course, knows all of this just by the smell. Knows that it would have been fermented for a few weeks and then held in vats for several months after that. They spice it with so the equivalent of hops is going to be a bitter lichen that grows in the deeper tunnels. And there's also this sort of aromatic component, almost like kind of like mace and cloves that clearly, Gamort can tell just from the way the scents pass through all the caverns. It's back towards the east in the direction that Nistia said the Drow live, so presumably they're the ones, like they get it in trade with them or something like that. Finally, there's, I said there was something sort of briny to it. Probably they're using the water from the small cave just to the northeast of here, the one where you originally met Flynn Ploop. It has a very similar smell to that.
I chug it.
All right.
Okay, so as Quiz sees him just like is it a wolf or a dog?
It's a wolf.
He's a wolf.
Let the wolf smell it
Mm-hmm.
and like look assured and chug it.
Yeah.
Quiz is staring intently to see if like he dies or anything.
You know
like
what?
what the reaction is.
This may not be what you
death.
think, but give me a con save.
Me or him?
You.
Damn it.
I'm staring at you. Why would I have the con save?
Can I also
Drink.
deception my...
Sure.
God damn it.
All right, well...
I'm drunk. Is that what you're gonna say?
No, that's not what it is. You
Oh, Lord.
start throwing it back, and there's nothing directly bad about it, but it's a combination of tastes that just taste wrong. It's as if somebody mixed grain and mushrooms with like holiday spices and then like the brine that's used to pack anchovies. And you are just not expecting that, and you kind of spit it all over the table. And then you take a moment to recover, and you gracefully take a drink now that you're used to it. But that was not something that you were expecting. Nistia smiles weakly, sort of takes a cloth and wipes up your plume, if you will. And actually, I'm going to say, Kane, Colleen, you walk in just in time to see Fallon spit something all over the table in the middle of the room.
Hey guys, look what I can do. And I like to look around and
I
stare
hold
with
up my
Quinto.
mug and I say, "It's delicious."
Quiz is kind of nodding at Fallon after seeing this and like swirling the drink.
As I come out, I was like,
Overdoing it. Best to sip it slow.
Wasn't it when we were down here last time that Clean got really drunk?
Wait, you got drunk here?
I can't
I
remember.
thought it was
I
in
feel like
Citadel.
think so.
Quiz Milligus takes a sip.
Okay.
Just a
Gingerly,
sip.
I take it. You're not sure. Okay.
Oh
yeah.
no.
Yeah, you go through the same thing that Fallon did. It's like your brain doesn't want to put all of these flavors together. As you cautiously sip it, you get used to it a little bit, and you're like, this isn't the worst thing in the world. You would never, like, if you brought this to the halfling territory, you might be excommunicated, but it's not actually the worst thing in the world.
And I've had a lot of beer being Quizmilligus.
Hmm. In fact, actually, you know what? Give me survival, just for the fun of it.
All right. That's 6 survival roll.
It's the closest thing to a cooking roll.
Do a what?
To like a culinary arts roll.
Okay.
You know, even as you drink it, you start to think through ways that you could just like tone it down a little bit and tweak a few of the flavors, and you're like, actually, this could be really interesting done properly.
So Quiz is gonna ask, what's the lady's name who's in the room?
Nistia.
Nistia, would you mind having someone gather me the ingredients for this ale and bringing them to me?
Not at all. I can ask after we're done talking, or I mean, do you want them brought here right now?
When you get a chance.
Absolutely.
As he says that,
just I might forget. Just mention it to me, and you'll have it.
Okay.
as he says that, I was like, guys, watch this. And I turn one of the Kotoa and do this. And point down again. I can give him the same stare.
He's not in the room with you. You left him behind.
No, what? Oh, well, I don't say any of that then.
Okay.
I just sit down and just kind of sniff at the drink.
So we've decided we're going to have a party tonight to celebrate essentially our arrival.
Indeed. And Nistia sort of smiles, but you can sort of see her eyes sort of looking up as she's thinking through party planning.
Also, are we short one? There's the big fella.
He seems to have departed.
Kyrian
His
tears
last
up and
wish-
runs out of the room.
His final wish was that I received the amulet.
Confirm nor deny, as I'm not in the room anymore.
Fallon looks away.
It was
About
his
the
final
party.
wish, Fallon.
Nistia stops for a moment, though. She's like, wait, you're right. That's a good point. Do you know where he went?
He said he must go, that there was danger afoot, and that you should give the amulet to Cain.
I'm going to insight check Kane.
Yeah, sure. Kane did just roll a 27. So again, I allow skepticism in all things Kane. Like, if he like crit succeeds, then maybe I'll play that differently. But otherwise, he's giving nothing away. This is all very natural. Nistia sort of looks at you, Kane, and says, Did something happen to him? Do we need to go after him?
Nah, he's fine. That guy can take a lot. He was in a whirlpool for a very long time while killing your previous guy.
Okay, great. Sure. She sort of looks down for a moment and says, well, if he is indeed the new god, then he can go where he chooses.
Yes, how dare you question your new gods?
Oh, never. She smiles pleasantly.
Nistia, would you mind giving us a moment and maybe finding Colleen and asking her to come back?
She's inconsolable right now.
Absolutely. Just call down the hall if you need anything. Or down the stairs. Actually, let me see. Colleen, would you have run past the way you came, down the hallway, or back down the stairs?
I'm going outside, so whichever way I need to go to get
Okay.
outside.
Yep, so it would be downstairs and out. So Nistia goes back down the stairs, leaving the rest of you. Yeah, let's remain in the room for the moment.
So Quiz is going to look at Fallon and Kane and fill in Kane on kind of the basic information we got from
Kane
Mistia.
yawns.
Okay, well, I stop in the middle of filling him in and just talk to Fallon.
A good plan.
So Fallon, it seems they don't have much of a military force, so our plan of getting them to kill the mind flayers for us doesn't look too good currently.
We could just send them
Well,
anyway.
we can invite him to watch us kill the mind flayers.
Nah. Just put weapons in all of the inhabitants and send them all to war. They don't need to be trained. They need to be they just cannon fodder.
So tell me again, who is this person we're trudging through all of this to save? Who is
It's our friend's girlfriend, kind of, but she's a dragon.
Quiz looks at Kane, confused, looks at Fallon for clarification.
What was her name?
Lyriana.
Lyriana. She's. We had a friend here named Halil who
He was
disappeared,
orally.
similar to other friends. It's not. It's not a habit. I swear. You're not in danger.
Yes.
Anyways,
So
she has
far,
a dragon
all
spirit,
people that have died
uh,
is meeting Colleen.
and we have to
And Rope Buddy.
zap it out of her.
He didn't die. He just disappeared.
He got eaten
Oh
by
wait, what did you say?
tentacles.
But then he popped up later and was fine.
All right, Colleen and Kane
No.
aren't here. Fallon and
Sorry.
Colleen.
I don't think
No,
you guys are having a
Well,
better
Kane
conversation.
is, but not
Game
Colleen.
conversation, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Colleen
and
died.
Fallon said something about a
So
dragon.
we gotta zap the dragon spirit out of her.
Oh,
He doesn't know these things, does he? The dragon spirits and all that?
Well, I
no.
just told him.
Oh.
He could be like, what?
So is this part of the mission your goddess has sent you on?
Yeah. At some point, you're going to get to meet Halil because he's also a
Yes.
dragon. That'll be fun.
Yes, it is. We've got to collect a lot of things.
Yes, lots of things. Like amulets, which you should give it to me.
Noted. Get out of here, Casey.
We have a lot of the things already.
We do. We have quite a
We
few.
are low on dragon spirits, and we've got some other really big matters to take care of outside of Einengrun. There's a special thing we really have to do.
Hey, Fallon,
We'll get to
by
that
the
later.
way, look at the locket thing, looking glass.
What are you talking about?
Did you ever look through the looking glass?
I don't remember who had that. Probably Colleen.
Well,
Yeah,
First-
you never had it, Fallon, so I don't think you ever did.
I know
Cleric
I never
had it.
had that.
Max
Yeah, it was
character,
Aaron, then Maxis, then Kane.
Aaron, Max.
Kane
so,
has it. Okay.
oh,
Well, then what are you asking me for stuff? You've got the looking glass.
it's not a godly power thing. By the way, so when I first looked through the thing, it was just this red trail going somewhere.
Or maybe just Aaron and then
But-
Kane. Anyways, go ahead.
But now the looking, yeah, it was Aaron and then.
Oh, no. It was Aaron and then it was Kruk, and then it was Kane.
I thought Aaron gave it directly to me.
No, he
No,
gave it to Kruk.
Crook gave it to me.
Yeah.
I forgot about Crook. Anyway. Man, we've had so many people. Anyway, but yeah, the red trail is now going towards the back of this cavern, towards potentially the mind flayers, or the other tunnel we didn't take. I don't know where it leads, but just figured I should tell someone before I forget. Seems important. Now you guys know.
On that pronouncement, let's go outside the temple.
Give me the amulet.
So, Colleen, how far away are you going?
Well, I'm gonna ask the guards outside if they know where I can find the craftsman.
Yeah, and they'll just sort of point you off in this direction.
And I will wander that direction.
Okay. For the record, are you wandering? Like, are you just sort of strolling?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, a few moments after you come outside, you hear Nistia call from behind you. And actually, come to think of it, I'm just gonna say that. Well, let me. Would any of you have been evasive about your real names?
Yeah.
No.
Well, yes.
Well, yeah.
Did,
Okay.
Wait,
I know what quiz means by that. All right.
wait,
So.
did she hear
so-
my name?
Well, we never officially exchanged names. I forgot. So I was just seeing if it made sense for her to call you by name, basically.
I did say go fetch Colleen.
That's fair. So you hear Nistia from behind you. Colleen, I'm sorry. And she trots up from behind you. Your friends asked me to look after you. Is there anything you need?
Yes, I'm trying to see if you have any metal workers
Oh,
or craftsmen.
yes, indeed. I'd be happy to help you. If you can hold just a moment, I have a couple errands that need starting, and then I'll be happy to show you around.
Okay, that would be lovely.
Okay, great. So what she's going to do is she's going to disappear back into the temple for a moment. She's going to get a few things started for the various requests that people have made. Also, those of you who are upstairs, you'll be informed that Nistia is going to be helping Colleen for the moment, and you'll be given a choice of whether you want to be shown to quarters, whether you want to talk with one of the priests, or whether you just want time to yourselves.
Bring me a
So
sacrifice.
hold on. Point of order.
Mm-hmm.
You said so we don't speak Undercommon, but I have comprehend languages. So how long does that last for?
An
1
hour.
1 hour.
Okay.
So that being said, okay, so actually what would happen is they would send up one of the priests. You would recognize this. And and she would actually be speaking to you in common as she says this. So yeah, so she'll come up and say, sounds like Nistia is helping your friend. If you would like, I can show you to quarters. If you'd like to just remain here for a while, then you can come call after me whenever you're ready. If you need to be shown anything, just let me know. By the way, my name's Ilderop. At your service.
Is that the one I was shaming earlier?
No. This is actually one of the priests.
Oh.
So I have a scroll of comprehend languages I got from Alistar, I believe.
Okay.
I should probably give that to Colleen, right?
No, I can cast this as a ritual.
Okay.
You should give it to.
Okay.
And by give it, I mean the amulet. And by to who? I mean Kane.
I give it to Kane's mom, but I can't fit inside the bangle.
So, okay. So are
what?
LOL.
Sorry.
So Chris doesn't know any of this.
So
Out of
quiz, since my comprehend languages is still going, is gonna say to the priest.
I was giving you a chance not to cast it if you wanted, since she'd be speaking in common.
No, I'll cast it. I use a spell slot. Doesn't matter. So I say to her in uncommon.
Well,
yes,
you can. It doesn't give you the ability to speak undercommon. You can just
Oh,
understand it.
That would be tongues, I think.
Right.
Oh, I misunderstood our conversation earlier and
That's
didn't
a
actually
shitty
read
one-way
this note.
spell.
All right. I'll just say this in person. It's very quiz. He'll say, "I'd love to be shown to my quarters. I'll take the largest, being the leader, and start to walk out."
Can Fallon bend down? Way down. Just be like, hello, new person in the group.
Quiz gives a wink. And a smirk.
And Fallon says, I like it. I'll allow it. Just walk away.
Ilderop like nods aggressively and starts showing you around, and basically they're going to show you too. It's not like what? It's like I'm trying to think. So just think of like a slightly swanky hotel, except
Yeah.
then it's basically like a stone floor. You actually do have proper beds in them.
Mhm.
Although again, the material is kind of spongy almost that the mattresses are made out of. All the rooms have like a small table, a mirror, some drawers, and in all of them, there's sort of a mat that's set beside an open cabinet that has a few candles in it, actually, almost like a small meditation area or something like that. Um, all three of you get a room similar to that. Let me think. Fowlin, yours has sort of a larger um, clear space on the floor with a large rug laid out. Again, of some kind of like odd, like slightly spongy material, and not like in an unsettling way, more in like a yoga mat kind of way. Okay, so with that, then let's go back to Colleen and Nistia. So Nistia comes up beside you, Colleen, and says, absolutely, happy to help. What is it exactly that you need?
So specifically, I'm looking for someone who can work metal into a small shape or an inlay.
Oh, yes. And she thinks for a moment, says, you will no doubt have noticed that many of the workmen among the Quotoa make crude implements at best, but there are a few good ones, and I'm sure that one can be spared. She walks you sort of through towards the heart of this area. You walk for just a few minutes, and she comes to the edge of a little shop. She knocks on the door, and a Quotoa dressed in like an apron with sort of soot all over him hurries to the door and opens it. Yes? And Nicias says, one of the gods has need of your services. And his eyes get like a little bit too wide for a moment, and he drops
They've
down on
already
the
moved.
ground. Says, I am not worthy of this honor. And he looks up and says, how may I help? How may I be of service?
God of melons.
So I am looking to make a little inlay that I can put these 3 stones into one necklace charm kind of thing.
Oh,
If you could help me do that.
and he's still like his head is no more than a foot above the ground, but he like cranes his neck up. Which again, the Quotoa sort of have like, I mean, think of how fish are. They don't really have a distinct neck. It's just sort of a big fold where their body becomes their head. So it's sort of
Same.
this. Lols. Yeah, it's pretty much like that, craning it all the way back. And he looks up and says, yes, I imagine I can help. He like cautiously stands up as if he's afraid he might be being too daring, and he says, if I may humbly invite you into my shop, I can be of more assistance there.
Lead the way.
Excellent, excellent. And he sort of guides you in. You see him like sort of tisking to himself as he notices like piles of ash or like tools in a jumble on the table. But he like a little bit too aggressively clears away a countertop, reaches down, pulls out. I guess what would this actually be? It looks like it's sort of a sponge almost made out of hide with something packed into it, and like scrubs off the surface of the counter, then pulls out another mat that's a lot cleaner looking and says, if you'll place the stones here, I will examine them. I'll need to
I
take a few
very
measurements.
Yeah, I very carefully will lay them out. do be careful. They're very, very precious.
And his eyes widen in fear, and he's like, "Yes, yes, very well." Um, you see him take out, like a jeweler would, sort of a little magnifying glass, and also something that looks to be basically a small set of calipers. And you see him very, very carefully, like when he's sort of closing in on either side of it, um, like they're not going to break, but it's almost like he's afraid of breaking them as he slowly measures all the facets of the stone. He pulls out some kind of slate and with a piece of chalk starts marking down what are not. I mean, you can recognize it as some kind of mathematical system, but none that you're familiar with. Um, and makes a few sketches, and he says, "Okay, I believe I can do something about this. I will need." He thinks for a moment. Well, it will be until at least tomorrow before I have it ready.
That's okay. Is there anything I can do to help?
And again, his eyes widen a lot. And he says, nothing that needs to be done, but if you wish to help."
I very much wish to assist if possible.
"Oh, well then," he thinks for a moment and says, "we'll need to make some casts." And he thinks for a moment. And actually, let me think about this. So the first step will be, and he starts yammering through a bunch of basically talking through the process of making like a lost wax cast. So basically, he's going to design an inlay um, and coat that in a sort of putty, then um, burn away the mold on the inside to create sort of a space on the inside that is an exact mold of what he wants to make. He says, I I don't have much gold, but I should have enough for this purpose." Um,
How much gold do you need?
um, he he says he reaches back behind the shelf and pulls out a small ingot and says, "This will do absolutely fine." He says, "Basically, we'll just melt this, pour it in the mold, strip away the mold, and there you go. A little bit of fine tuning to make sure it fits well, but that'll be about it." And he thinks for a moment and says, "Oh, we should inlay it with some of that." And he pulls out a much smaller ingot of some sort of silvery metal. You can give me what have I been making this? I guess I've been making it history, even though that's a stretch to say the least.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. You recognize this as a tiny bit of mithril. And he's like, "I can work this, sort of lace the pendant with it, and it will add a small amount of strength and, well, look much nicer."
Okay, I would appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. And he says, "Well then, you can help me mix the putty then." Um, so you can. So what? It's still early in the day. You can while away the day with him if you want to.
I will. Maybe I'll call over my crew and we'll all do things.
All right.
By my crew, I mean my zombies.
Oh, geez. Well, I mean that'll. I suppose you can use the grunt work when you need to fire a forge, um, or like a blast furnace in order to melt the metal. Um, okay, so let me see here. Go ahead and give me. Let me just make sure this is the best check for this. Sorry, I'm switching on your character sheet real quick just to look at something. Okay, I'm good. You can give me 3 survival rolls
Survival roll.
as you work through the day with him.
Things that I'm good at.
Yeah. And give me an insight check.
Also, things that I'm good at.
Brilliant. So yeah, you So by the way, just for commentary because it's fun, Colleen is not doing a good job. Okay? She's like, it's like I'm Colleen, I'm helping for the most part. A little bit
Yeah.
here and there. Like, you consult on the design, and you do offer some really nice ideas for the design.
Yeah, but when it comes to actually getting my hands dirty, I'm not very good at it.
Right. That being said, this Quotoa is going out of his way in order to like encourage you and praise everything you do, and you don't see through it. You're not used to reading these people, and actually, Colleen, you come away with the impression that you're surprisingly good at this.
Sounds about right.
Having the zombies to fire the blast furnace for the final, like, you need to melt down some gold and put that on, and then finally with the mithril, you need to get that extremely hot in order to make that forgeable. And you watch as the Quotoa, he sort of, very gingerly says like I need to handle this part. He reaches in with some very long tools and sort of like lays the mithril sort of as like almost filigree along the outside of this design. So you come away with sort of a roughly heart-shaped pendant. It with the spot for Lacidel stone at the bottom and the ones for Kuril and Cenarian stones on either side. Around it is, I guess the shape, I'm trying to think how best to describe this. It's like somewhere between like a heart and a pumpkin, but it's got lots of like, just sort of an ornate geometric design around all of it. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's tiring. It takes you a number of hours, and if it was morning before, it's evening now. But come away with something that seems pretty nice. And he looks at you and sort of apologetically says, "I'll need to treat it and polish it for a bit. I can really handle that part on my own, but it'll be ready in the morning."
Okay. Wonderful. Is it okay if I keep the stones so we can insert them in the morning?
Yes, absolutely. And he points to a couple places and says, "We'll need to heat it slightly here and here in order to set the stones after they put in, not melting the metal, mind you, just making it pliable." And you see how basically he's left the settings just slightly wider than they're going to wind up needing to be. So he'll just sort of lightly hammer it in.
Okay. I guess that's all that I have planned until the morning when I get that inlaid.
Yep. And you step out, and you've been in this area for a pretty long time at this point. And as you step out into the pathway and start heading back towards the temple, you notice immediately that there are bright torches burning all the way around the side of the temple. There is a bonfire. There are tables laden with ale and giant steaks and something that vaguely looks like a punch or fruit juice of some kind, but you're underground, so it must be something different. Um, this like the fungus that grows down, prepared in various ways, and there are fish people madly dancing all about, which is a sight that you never quite think you'll forget. So, going back to the
Is
other
there also
three
a,
of you,
is there also a tent
there is indeed a
with smoke billowing out of the entry flap?
oh, so that's interesting. There is, for the
I
exact
made my
nature of
I
that.
wanted to make my own opium den.
Well, you've got sort of a brown canvas tent that has sort of, well, oh yeah, there we go. It has the emblem of a wolf's head sort of on a tapestry that's draped on either side of it. Let me go back in time very slightly. An entire day has passed for Colleen. Is there anything that the three of you want to use that day for?
I had one thing.
Okay, let's go first to Quiz, then I'll go to Kane, then I'll go to Fallon.
So once I get to my room,
Mm-hmm.
essentially I want to, either just assume I have a quill and ink,
Yep.
or make weird hand signs at the Kratoa until they bring me what I want.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, you could just ask the priest who showed you up, or the priestess.
Oh yeah, I
technically.
forgot she speaks common. Yeah.
Yep.
So get quill and ink. And once I'm in my room alone, essentially, I want to kind of unlatch the Book of Shadows.
Okay. By the way, the priestess, she will admit to you that she's basically using a tongue spell in order to talk to you. So she sort of admits to you that it'll be hard for her to keep it up, forever. But like, she doesn't actually speak the language. Anyways.
Okay. So, anyways, I'm gonna go to that meditative area you talked about and kind of open the Book of Shadows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna scan through the first section of it, which you know what that means.
Yep.
Bypass the next section and go to where the pages are blank.
Mm-hmm.
And without going into too much detail, essentially, I'm gonna write a letter.
Okay.
Detailing how I've met my new companions. Brief opinions about each of them.
Okay.
Saying I feel like I'm settling in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say something to the fact of I'm finding it getting harder to keep Quizmiligus alive. And at the end, just write with love and then write my real name. And close the book and latch it back up.
Secrets.
So,
Kane's favorite.
well, so after you finish writing that, give me perception.
Ooh, baby.
Kane's on to you.
Kane sees everything.
As you look at what you just wrote and you're preparing to close the book, you're taken by the thought that there must be something like different about the ink of all things that they gave you. It seems somehow darker and richer and fuller than what you would have expected. And then and oddly, as you look at it, it sort of seems to intensify and then fade back to what you would expect, almost as if for a brief moment it was made out of pitch, and then suddenly it was something much more mundane. And the words sort of fade into the page as if they're being absorbed by it.
Going to slowly kind of close the book and just sort of...
How slowly?
with a lot of care.
Okay, give me one more perception check. As you go to close the book, you see very faintly on the page below your letter the words, "Stay strong, my love."
I close the book, leave my hand rest on top of it for a while, spend a considerable amount of time collecting myself,
Mm-hmm.
latch it back up, deep breath, and I leave with the utmost confidence. Once again, Quizmilligus the Almighty.
All right. Let's jump over to Kane.
Pain requires sacrifices.
Okay, how are you going about this?
Oh shit. Liriana's not Liriana. Nisty is gone, right? I remembered names.
is.
Holy god.
If you wait long enough, she'll eventually come back.
I'll wait for Nisty to return.
Okay. She's gone with Colleen for perhaps half an hour. And then if you're sort of generically...
While I wait, I want to talk to my voice. In my head. But like in my head, not out loud.
Okay.
The outside view, Kate, staring off into space.
All right.
Which I guess to Fallon's view at the moment.
Well, I mean, you could be in your own room if you want. I mean, you're very close to each other.
Yeah, okay. I'll just be in the same before we left for our room. I'm just in that same like where Fallon puked.
Okay.
All right. Okay, voice. I think we can both agree that that amulet would be dope to have.
Dope. Yes. I agree.
Then, before I even try anything, 'cause if you don't like it, you'll stop me. How would you recommend I go about acquiring this amulet?
There's a pause, and then trust once lost is not an easy thing to reacquire. If you wish for such a thing, you must keep in mind the cost to trust. I would not attempt to take such a thing from an ally unless my need for the alliance was ended. Patience, Kane.
And you can't talk to the real you, right? The things I tell you were forever stuck in my brain.
What do you think, Kane?
I don't like questions being answered with questions.
Why is that?
Because it's not answering the question. It's just asking another question. And one answers the questions.
That's a fair point.
Can you talk to Big Tirsa?
I have not once reached out to the true Tirsa Shadowvale.
Wait. You haven't reached out, but you could.
Actually, Kane, I cannot. If you want to
How
insight check that,
invest-
you can.
Yeah, I'm inside checking that. How invested are you in the well-being of Big Tirsa as compared to me? It's 15.
Yeah, you're not sure. Oh, it's a 15. Yeah, you're still not sure. How invested?
Actually,
well,
can I not say that since I'm not sure?
Okay,
of
yeah,
her
that's
answer?
fine.
I don't say that. Alright, boys. Now, I'm about to get some sacrifices up in here. Okay, you cool with
Sacrifices?
that? Yeah, I don't like these fish people.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what's happening?
Kill them.
Kane is talking to the voice in his head. So, Kane is still
He's
in the
planning.
common area.
I'm just making sure I'm understanding what he said. He He wants to have some fish people sacrificed to himself.
That sounds like where this is going, but
I'm going full Mayan here, man. They need to make some sacrifices to their gods.
she says, well, again, I would probably advise that... What? Well, she stops and thinks for a moment. You know what, Kane? I think you deserve nice things every once in a while.
Thank you. Alright, I wait for this, dude.
Okay, yeah, she returns after, you know, half an hour. And comes and finds you still in the common room. So she walks in and says, oh, Kane, you're still here. Is there anything I can help you with?
Your god demands a sacrifice.
I'm sorry. What specifically do you mean?
You must sacrifice one in the name of your god.
One what?
Fish person.
Oh! And she brightens up a little bit. Sure, no problem. I'll arrange it. There's a celebration tonight, after all.
Yes, a celebration for everyone. That's the perfect time to do this.
Yes.
Whatever the others say when the sacrifice begins, just ignore them.
Do you have any desires as to the nature of the individual to be sacrificed, as to the manner?
Whoever you deem worthy, or no, whoever you deem, I will take your criminal.
She
Take lowest of yours to better the whole.
She stops and thinks for a moment, and you see her sort of wince and then give me insight. She is trying really hard to suppress a smile. She says, I know just the one. Again, any desires as to the nature of the ceremony, or shall I just do my best?
I'll let you wing it. Just whatever you think will be most impressive.
Absolutely, sir. She gives a small bow and says, I will see it done.
Thank you. Remember, if with the others protest, do not cease the ceremony until the sacrifice is finished. This will please me greatly.
The words of all of our gods are absolute. She bows. Fallon.
Alright, that's it.
Okay, so this was like before the party was set up?
Yeah, you've got a day. Do you want to use your day for anything?
I will make them purple flowers into salty goodness.
Okay, where are you doing this?
I guess in my room.
Okay, interesting.
I'm just converting the flowers into gnome salts, right?
Yeah, go ahead and give me a check with your herbalism kit.
How do I do that?
I believe we set up a thing on your bottom left of your character sheet.
Huh. I didn't do that, but that's cool.
Okay. So, I mean, it takes you a little while. It's like late afternoon by the time you finish it. You had to sort of pause and remember some of the steps. But you convert half a pound of purple flowers into another, call it 12 doses of gnome salts.
Okay. And the rest of my time, I want to read my Yuan tea book.
Okay.
I don't know if that does anything for me, but I'm doing it.
Right. So I gave you those stories previously. Do you have that?
The what previously?
Stories? I sent you a Word doc.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If you have that, I
Well,
will.
I changed computers. I might need to find it again.
Oh, okay. Well, so let's do this first. I've been calling this stuff history, so give me a history check.
Okay. History.
Okay, on a 14, here's what I will say. I gave you a bunch of stuff previously. I will let you ask a question about it, and I will give you an answer to that question. If you need more time to think about this, that's okay.
Yeah, because I'm not sure what I would ask.
Yeah, I'm just saying you've previously spent a good amount of time like actually reading the book, and I gave you some excerpts to that end. But as you read through it, you might think like that might raise certain questions in your mind, and you might study it more closely in order to try to see if you notice anything else. So yeah, once again, and you don't even have to necessarily do it tonight. If you want to bring this up at a later session, that's fine. But just you can ask me one question about what I wrote, and I will
Okay,
answer it.
I'll do that.
Cool. All right. So shall
Hey,
we?
KC.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No problem.
I'm gonna scumbag you quick. Did I ever get those ingredients for the beer?
Yes. So let's see. After the scene that we had before, you're sort of, you know, I don't. I guess I don't know what you're doing during the day, but you're around, right?
Yeah.
All right. So
So we don't have to play it out, but essentially, I want to take those ingredients and I want to try and brew a better version using my brewer's supplies.
okay. Yeah, you have enough time to. Well, let me think.
Or at least get it started, maybe.
Well, so like obviously going through the whole process of making beer takes a while. Now, you probably could though have some thoughts of just like combining things differently. Maybe go down to the tavern and try to find some different ingredients. Just the final like spicing and whatnot of the product.
Yeah. All right, yeah. So I
And
want
then
to
you could
start to develop
also
the recipe.
right, and you could also like maybe think of how you would work this in the future. So yeah, sounds good. So we'll say you're doing something along those lines. Go ahead and give me the check.
For the brewer's supplies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have that.
Oh, did we not set it up?
No. Do you know what kind of roll it is?
Oh no, it's right there. Tool proficiencies and custom skills. On the left.
Okay. Never mind. I found it. Thank you.
Yep.
15.
Okay, yeah. So you spend the good part of your day, basically, tinkering around with it. Basically just mostly studying the ingredients that you were given. Also, you go down to the local tavern and ask to rummage through the spice rack, basically, and of course, the Quotoa sort of falls over his face, trying to help you out. And yeah, you come away with both some ideas about how you would fix the Quotoa drink, but also how you might apply a little bit of this to more conventional beers. And you come away
Excellent.
with some nice little notes on the topic. It would take you actually, a little while to actually make the product, but you now have a recipe for a rather exotic ale, and also like you even spend some time thinking about some things that could be substituted, like studying each ingredient carefully and trying to think about how you could replicate something similar using above ground ingredients. Yeah, a little funky, a little dank, but might be all right.
Get that
I just wrote.
dang ale.
I just wrote has a recipe for fish people ale.
Yeah, I was pretty long-winded in my description. I was thinking while I was talking. Anyways.
You're good.
All right. Cool. So with that, then, I think we will skip ahead to tonight. So, let me see here. So yeah, so let's skip back to the moment when Colleen beholds the scene. Where would Quizmilligus be in this scene? So in addition to the things that I described before, the torches, the bonfire, the dancing, the massive amounts of food, there are some Quotoa who have sort of mostly drums, but also some basically xylophone, marimba, that sort of thing, making music. There is also, somewhat curiously, sort of a scaffold that has been erected towards the center that has sort of a crossbar with a few chains on it at the center, probably about 10 feet above the floor of the cavern, that they've been constructing the entire day. You're not sure for what. So where would Quiz be in this scene?
Yes.
He would first ask the priest if they could cast tongues on him.
Let me just
I don't know.
Let me just make sure that can in fact be cast on.
That's what he's
someone
asking.
else.
Can they do it?
Yeah.
And if so, would they?
So let me see here. So, all right, I'll say there are two priests. Both of them would be here. Do you want to go to the same one you talked to before, or the other one?
Sure.
Okay. So you come up. How do you communicate?
Did it wear off?
Yeah, it did.
Hmm.
I mean, you could probably induce her to cast it on herself again, but I want to see how you go about this. So she's you see her like munching on a steak, and she stops as you approach and sort of sets it to the side and stands up and gives a sort of medium bow.
I'm gonna look at her dead in the eyes and point at her, and then make these hand signals.
She
Man, that could be misinterpreted.
she
a
sort
lot
of
ways.
mimes.
It
Actually,
can, yes.
give me performance.
That's what I was hoping to roll. Shit.
Okay.
How badly you
Okay.
take.
She sort of mimes like this. She walks over to you and sort of holds her hands up like okay to touch you.
Thumbs up.
Lays her hands on you.
Ooh, baby.
Sort of holds up her staff and mutters a few words, and then she says, "You can understand now, Great One." And as you do, you actually take in the conversation all around you. Mostly the Quotoa, like, making various guesses about who you all are and where you came from. Some of them commenting on the food and the music and what they were doing with their day, that kind of thing.
Quiz, realizing everyone can hear him, smiles at her, and immediately jumps onto the table and begins telling them the story of how he slew a evil green dragon in the mountains of blah blah blah, and just starts telling stories.
Okay. So as you jump onto the table, like, anyone remotely close to you falls into a hush, and then you hear the hush sort of ripple away from you. As like, it's that social thing where once one group falls quiet, everybody sort of catches on. And then all eyes are on you. And then you start into the story, your voice sort of bouncing off the walls of the cavern. Give me a performance check with advantage.
Excellent. 20.
Okay. They are wrapped in your story. Give me insight. Okay. The only two that you notice not just being sort of completely enthralled by you, are the two priests. They are still listening intently to every word that you say. You just, like, with at least one of them, you can tell there's more critical thinking going on than with everyone else in the cavern. You don't see, like, duplicitousness on their faces or anything like that. Just, like, at least the one of them you kind of have trouble getting a read on, but the other one you're pretty sure is, like, okay, they're weighing this individual's words. As for Nistia herself, you do see her sort of towards the back of the group. She is just sort of looking up and, like, smiling softly and listening.
Shoot her a wink mid-story, as then I clap my hands and cast Thaumaturgy and make a loud noise as I talk about the dragon falling. And that's it. That's what I do.
Yep. For the record, the effect on the Quotoa is, I mean, it's just like when you set off fireworks for a bunch of little children. It's that.
Excellent.
All right.
Excellent.
Meanwhile, throughout this scene, let's take a peek behind the flap of a tent, as there are, I don't know, probably like 4 of the Quotoa inside this large tent. Fallon, describe the scene to me.
So out from outside the tent?
No, from inside the tent.
From inside the tent?
Yeah, what's going on?
Okay, you can see people's legs, and you can see that they're sitting in chairs.
Okay.
But right about chest height sitting down, it's like you can't tell who's who, and it's just a haze.
Okay.
I can think it's like a reddish light haze from a torch or something.
Okay.
And I'm using my what did I label this thing? Pipe of smoke monsters
Okay.
Yes.
to make
welcome.
snake giant constrictor snakes dance, and the smoke clouds around people.
That's exciting. All right, let me think about one thing. So,
I love Fallon so much.
is this your drug that you're using?
Yeah.
Okay. Given the quantity of the scene that you're describing, I would like you to give up 10 doses of it.
I figured something like that. That's perfectly fine. It's worth it.
However, at one moment, one of the Quotoa, who's, like, clearly... What? The world may never know exactly what his mental state is, but he finds one piece of clarity in the middle of it and says, we've got more of this, if you want it.
I'll just tell him, yes, I'm owed.
Yeah.
Bring it to the tent.
You're owed all of it. The great God is right. He stands up, falls over, stands up again, like, leans back on one foot and, like, just starts to fall over again, catches himself with his hand, stands up, braces himself on the wall of the tent, opens up the tent flap, and then, actually, I'm sorry, I have to research something. I made this up so long ago that I forget if I ever decided on this particular detail.
Like how you're getting them all high. Quiz is like giving them with stories. And Kane's making them kill each other.
Okay.
You don't know that yet.
He's trying to.
Let me see. Okay. He opens up the tent flap and says, "Somebody fetch the rest of the plurlock. The gods demand the plurlock." And a couple of the Kotos sort of look at him and then, like, what? It's like, "The smoke. The god makes the smoke." And they nod, "Oh, okay." And a few of them wander away. Fallon, a few minutes after, this Kotoa then just like collapses near the entrance of the tent, like just inside. And he appears to still be conscious, but he's just sort of like lying there.
Can he be propped up against the inside wall, trying to waft the smoke down towards himself?
We'll go with that. That's perfect.
Okay.
About 20 minutes later, a few of the Quoto come back with a wheelbarrow full of the purple flowers.
And I exclaim to my new patrons that they have pleased me greatly.
All right.
Picturing Fallon just like hands out, like, yes, yes, you have pleased your god this day.
So, for what it's worth, I will just, the exact details of how this would go down would be a little bit more complicated, but I will just allow you to take, I will say, up to 4 pounds more of processed gnome salts.
Oh, geez.
Wait, are you burning?
What?
Are you burning salt? Is that what he's doing? Or?
Well, whenever I made the character up, I called it gnome salts, like referencing bath salts.
Oh God!
Decided
he's
it was
burning
something you smoke. Yeah.
All right, so Quizmilligus, you finish your story. Gradually, things start to go back to normal, but the Quotoa, like, you see them, they, like, a lot of them are getting as close to you as they dare and sort of staring up or sort of, like, walking past and then, like, pretending like they're going for food or something like that, like, clearly odd. And then you hear Nistia's voice ring out over the crowd. She says, "And now, people of Implore, we will give homage to the gods in the way that they have demanded." And she pauses for a moment. "In fact, in the
Kane
way...
leans back in his chair.
Would you have actually given a god title to yourself that Nistia would know, or would she just know you as Kane?
I am the god of storms!
"In the way that the god of storms has demanded it." And then you hear just sort of a rhythmic pounding of the drums. Thump, thump.
Do I see Colleen?
Yeah, she wandered in not too long ago.
Quiz is gonna run up to Colleen. Colleen, are you okay with what's happening now?
Well, what's happening exactly?
So, to partially answer that question, let me describe the scene, and then we'll go back to your conversation. So, 4 of the Quotoa have, tied between 2 poles, sort of... It is really hard to judge Quotoa ages, but not young, probably. But sort of like a grizzled, I'll say, looking Quotoa, who's sort of swinging back and forth in his bonds and sort of blathering incoherently. And they're wandering up towards the scaffold at the center, where, I kid you not, one of the taller Quotoa has a proper executioner's robe and hood that he is dressed in. They're carrying him up, and Nistia says, "The god, in his wisdom, demanded that we offer to his honor the most objectionable among us. And there will be no doubt that Plindruk, who has oft berated us with his stories, his most long and boring stories of wandering every single tunnel around this village, which we listen to politely because he is rich and because we like his patronage. But that is ended. We will now be free of his nuisance." That's what you're hearing. Let's go to Quiz and Colleen.
Are you okay with this?
I'm most certainly not okay with a sacrifice. Why is there a sacrifice happening?
Should we attempt to stop it?
uh, yes, we should. And I make my way towards the
Remember, Casey,
stage.
I gave specific instructions to ignore the other god's protests.
Go ahead.
How far are we away from this thing?
And how far away is Kane? I'm looking for Kane, actually.
Okay, so
Kane's not hiding. Kane's leaned back in his chair. He's made his armor look like casual robes and stuff, like, you know, like 2 buttons like unbuttoned and all that. Kane's chilling.
The scaffold is built probably 40 feet away from the foot of the temple. Everybody else is sort of arrayed around that, so you're all kind of in a loose crowd around the scaffold. I imagine Kane is some distance, but in full view.
Well, I'm going for the scaffold.
Okay. All right, so you sort of run away from the crowd into like the open area. Like so these 4 Quotoa who have the one tied up are like marching towards the scaffold. And are you like interposing yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to try to.
You do so, and as that happens, Nistia sort of stops in what she's saying and says, "Hold." And then the drums sort of pound one last time and stop. The 4 Quotoa walking towards the scaffold stop. And then
I
says,
approach this slowly. But
Nistia says, "Colleen, do you have something you wish to say for the occasion?"
Who ordered a sacrifice?
And that's when Kane arrives. That's when Kane gets there.
Okay.
Quiz is a few paces behind Colleen.
Kane?
Just because his legs...
Got it. Okay, so Quiz trots up. Kane, you step out at this point. Go ahead.
Oh no, he just walks up as she asks that.
Oh.
He's just walking up.
Nistia gestures towards Kane and says, this one has indeed requested this.
The God of Storms.
Indeed, sir. I'm very sorry.
I shoot Kane a look.
Shall we proceed? Or do you wish to
Yes, of
say
course.
something?
The stars are not right for this kind of offer.
Oh my god.
Can
Colleen?
and ask
Colleen,
for that
Quizmillicus.
crazy.
Oh, sorry, you were saying something, Fallon.
I was just gonna. Well, it's probably nonsense. I was gonna say, can Fallon stumble out of the tent asking after that one Ratoa that was telling him all the crazy stories?
Sure. And also, I need Colleen, Quiz, and Kane to please give me insight.
Wait, who is this insight directed towards?
Nistia. That being said, I did the roll on my
Okay.
end, so
I
nothing.
only roll insight against Kane, so just.
Well, except
Okay,
I'm
it's
asking you to roll insight for a very specific reason.
Okay, well,
but
so you
Kane
know.
is hiding it.
so you make your statement that the stars aren't right, and then Nistia says, "Stars."
They're on the ground.
It was worth the Eldorado reference.
It was worth it.
And by the way, remember, Nistia is like translating for Kane, but I know the other two of you are understanding what's going on in Undercommon, so I'm just like cutting out the translation part.
What my comrade here was saying was that the universe is not the proper place for her sacrifice. My sacrifices, things are aligned perfectly.
Kane, there are no sacrifices. These are people who have done nothing to us but been helpful.
As she says nothing, Kane just kind of gives like a.
Nistia says, in fairness, this one has done quite a bit to us.
Yeah, they want to sacrifice him. See, or bettering their society with this.
We're not bettering the
That's the whole
society.
goal. We strengthen the whole by cutting away the weak.
You teach people, you don't cut them out because they're weak.
One of the priests, so the other priest, the male one, incidentally quiz, the one who you noticed earlier, steps forward and says in common this time, "Do the gods debate amongst themselves?"
Yes.
Frequently.
Very well. He steps back.
Should we talk about this off to the side? Give us a minute, Nistia. Give us a minute.
Very well, she announces back to the rest of the group. The time is not quite right for the sacrifice. We shall resume momentarily.
That's kind of hurt my
In the
guys.
meantime,
Like, out of... Sorry.
Please, enjoy yourselves.
Guys just still tied up.
The Quotoa
Anyway.
sort of awkwardly go back to what they were doing. That one Quotoa,
I kind of hurt my guys.
They just sort of like find a place to prop the sticks that they have him tied to and just sort of leave him hanging.
Yes. Hilarious. Alright, so I heard the guys out of earshot at the Quotoa. Aren't we planning to send them all to, like, fight the Mind Flayers, kind of as cannon fodder?
No. They're clearly not up for that.
You ran out of room crying before. That is the plan that Fallon and Quiz and I came up with.
Yes, but if we do that, it still should be their choice. Sacrifice. Now, may bridge a divide. You don't know that all of them are on board to sacrifice this one.
I know all of them will be on board for fighting. Like, they may not all want to, but they do, because we're their gods.
But you're missing the fact that this is a strategic position we're in. We have this entire group of people willing to do whatever we say.
Yeah.
Killing one of them isn't necessarily our best answer now. Did I cut out?
No.
Oh, okay, shoot. Why is Kane rolling intelligence?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Kane just kind of stares at you. But we're going to get them killed anyway.
Not necessarily. There might be another.
We're not going to send them all to their deaths?
I'm becoming rather fond of fish
you
people.
say that now, but then the tentacles come out.
We've killed the tentacle.
But they still gave us the tentacles.
Well, technically you didn't have to accept it.
You forced me to accept it. So let's see if we redirect my anger about that elsewhere. I'll keep it at the Kuatoa.
I was not forcing you to do anything.
Hmm.
Fallon, what do you?
recall.
Fallon's in the tent, right?
Oh, I
Fallon's
thought you
tripping
came
balls.
stumbling out.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was canon.
Oh no,
I wanted-
I was making that canon.
I wanted some high Fallon wisdom.
All right, so we're debating whether or not to kill the guy, right? Or is it the army debate?
I guess both.
Yeah, kind of both.
Well, okay, but I was gonna say, I like that when he told me stories. What do we do? Damn it, Kane. And
I
also,
mean, if you want them to get another sacrifice, that's fine. But we're saying them all to their deaths anyway, so that we can infiltrate the mind flayers. Like, what's the matter if one dies now when they're all gonna die, like tomorrow?
But see, if you would have listened to me when I was explaining to you how they trade, how they interact down here, you would know that they have somewhat of goods trade with the Illithid. We could infiltrate the city without having to have any of them lose their lives.
why don't we
So-
just radicalize them?
This
Or
plan
we could
revolves
Our
around
religion.
But it's their choice.
us sneaking and lying into a city of tentacle people.
That's your favorite thing.
But we're not all good at that. I look at Colleen, especially around tentacles.
I'm quite good with tentacles.
Fallon says, "Look, we're gods now. I believe we can handle them." Okay.
And then he jumps off a 1,000-foot cliff and turns into a goldfish.
Then I say, actually, I also want to radicalize them. I have an idea.
What's your idea? Does it involve getting them all killed? Because
You remember the drug we got from those elves that didn't like you?
What else that didn't like me?
Okay, I guess I need to be specific. The ones in the woods.
They didn't like me?
You don't remember being drugged.
I was drugged?
It was
See,
a
this
long
is
time
perfect.
ago.
I can-
Kane never knew he was drugged, or the elves didn't like him.
Yeah.
We can call it a ritual sacrifice, being a test of their faith. And when they wake up, we'll convince them that they're even more fanatical about us and they've, earned our respect.
Wait, who drugged me?
Some elf.
Which elf?
Oh, God.
I believe it was a bird.
True.
Him? I thought we were cool.
So, should so Fallon, are you saying we should or shouldn't sacrifice him?
Well, I mean, it will appear like a sacrifice.
Oh,
Just convince them that if he's, believes enough.
But what does that
The words
do
aren't
for
coming to me
anyone?
right now.
Except for Kane.
If he has the true faith, he'll survive.
The ball is rolling, guys.
Ooh, so you're saying we take the mercy play? We say that if he
I think
believes
he's
enough, we
saying-
give him mercy.
I think he's
Well,
saying,
we just say that
saying it'll kill him unless he's
it's like a trial.
It won't kill him.
We're going to
Interesting.
say he's going to die unless he has the true faith.
I'm still
Which he
against
will
that
wake up
on principle.
and we will exclaim that he has the true faith. We will create an inner circle of radicals to keep everyone in line, of course.
That is a lot better than just killing him for no reason.
At
But you're still accepting the idea of a sacrifice, that we need a sacrifice.
at,
That's
at,
true.
at this point, Nistia sort of approaches your circle, like
How
sort of
dare you?
walking a couple steps and bowing, until she's
Oh. Except
she's sort of close enough to talk to you without having to shout. And then she says, if the sacrifice is acceptable, we found no less than 20 happy to take his place.
see, they're
Have you
happy to
decided
take his place.
what you would like?
They're happy. I think I think my fellow gods here would be really appreciative if they could see that everyone's on board with this sacrifice.
They most certainly
They-
are
they-
not.
The
They
thing we
think
appreciate the
we're-
most is
So if you could
silence.
just have everyone raise their hands if they approve of this sacrifice, that'd be great.
It
It's
seems
not a
you
godocracy.
are still deliberating. She thinks for a moment and then says, and she thinks even
They
more
want you to remain unified, and they're afraid this will create rifts.
and says,
Sure,
I
everyone's.
I will tell you what. What if we give them a show for now? Nobody gets hurt, and we will revisit this later.
Hold on, what I missed? I got a phone call. Sorry.
Oh.
What kind of show?
Oh, you know, the old, looks like we burned somebody alive show.
You would deceive your people?
Oh, they'll all know about it in the morning, but they're Quatoa, they'll rationalize it.
I like you. I like you more than before when you could, like, look into my past and stuff and know things about me.
I'm sorry?
It's all the temporal stuff. Like, just keep your eyes peeled for any turtle looking.
Right. Well, I don't know, that's the best alternative I can offer.
Well, guys, will you at least approve of a fake sacrifice?
I'm sorry. Were we not talking a minute ago?
I'm mostly looking at, I think, Colleen.
I still object because I'm still against the whole idea that we need a sacrifice.
Think of how many zombies.
Fallon is
and-
struggling not to say, "Look, Colleen, it's Maxis."
And as you still hesitate, Nistia, her eyes narrow slightly, and she says, "The gods are not unified."
I give Colleen like a.
I never get along with this one.
She looks
We
at you,
see
but
differently.
the words of a true god cannot conflict with each other.
They can. This is how we keep balance and things.
She
I
looks at
cast
you.
Dominate Person on Nistia.
Well, shit. Alright.
She has
But
to make
say-
a Wisdom saving throw.
You're blowing it, Colleen.
I'm not blowing it. Quiz is dominating her.
I said I was about to say that, and then.
Believe me, I just want to stick you to the wall by shadows.
Let me think. I have to...
I was gonna do this to Kane, but Nistia was getting way too involved. Oh shit, really? Plus 10? Oh yeah, she saves.
She looks at you.
She just resisted you. Oh no.
What was that?
I turn from arguing with Kane to Nissia. I was like, what was what?
Quizmiligus. You... Was that a spell?
Nope.
Oh, this is great.
Just for what it's
Oh.
worth, give me deception, although I know that's not really the dynamic here.
Oh god. Why?
Alright.
Oh god.
Oh my.
That was a
she-
bad roll. I get plus 9 too.
Hey,
Ugh.
Casey, I have a question about my aspect of the serpent.
Yeah, sure.
It says it has... Why is that not? Can I do the number 3 yet? Serpent's tongue?
Oh, yeah. So the idea is just, you can use any of those abilities by expending one use of the ability. If it right now the ability itself is at first level, so you can use it to get any of those effects for 10 minutes.
All right, number 3 it is.
Okay.
And
Yep.
I want to look at Misty and say, the gods are always in unity, and we are all unified in our displeasure at your
Intrusion.
hold on. I gotta look at the right word because I'm gonna say it right.
Bust out that
Impudence.
thesaurus.
She blanches. Roll me intimidation.
It's happening. It's happening. Back to core.
With advantage.
Well,
Natural 20.
She freezes and then crumples to the ground with her head on the floor, and she says, I apologize. I shall return to them, if you will.
I pick her chin up and tell her, rise, my child.
She stands up.
All is forgiven. And just Fallon just looks at everybody in the eyes and says, "This is not a large enough festival for a sacrifice. It does not suit us." And I tell her that.
Yeah,
And I'm daring everyone else to contradict me. Okay.
Yep.
Kids going along with it.
She nods and she says, yes, absolutely. We shall have an even greater bonfire than the one we had before. And she looks towards the scaffold, and she says, in fact, there shall be a bit of a show.
So hold on, are you trying to make it where she's gonna try to reach the sacrifice level of partying?
No, she's like, I should explain. We can make the flame a different color. It will be most impressive.
Can I use my smoke thing again? Where are my rules?
Yeah, I think you can use it as much as you want, basically.
Forget. I have notes on that.
Yeah, I've actually got it right here. Like, yeah, you can use that as much as you want. It's just an action.
How big can I make it?
1 foot cube.
Oh, lame. Okay. I was trying to think if it'd be impressive if I could conjure an animal. I guess I'm fine with the flame stuff. I mean, I don't. Is the whole thing to like appease the masses? Is that why we're trying to do?
Yeah,
sparkles?
Basically, it's like we've got this giant scaffold set up. Let's go ahead and make a show out of it.
Oh, I could just conjure a giant animal and we could kill it, right?
I mean, if you wanted to.
Do I hate any of these animals? What's something these bastards would never have seen? I could also just make it disappear, right?
Summon a mongoose. A giant mongoose. The enemies of snakes.
I am going to summon. They're fish. What would they hate? Something giant.
I mean,
a hook.
Giant eagle, but that seems, I don't know, that's like sacrilegious towards Tolkien.
Well, but I could conjure it and then I could like unconjure it, right? Like I could just.
Sure.
room.
Look at this thing I brought in. Oof,
No,
it's dead.
No, I got this.
Conjure the dome with fire, and like make the fire consumes it.
I'm gonna make a giant frog appear,
Okay.
and then I'll let everybody freak out at it for a minute. Have it menacing gestures, and then I'm gonna do a spell at it, and as it happens, I'll make it disappear.
Okay. All right. So
Fire Gamork at it.
all right. So you conjure this giant toad. It's led over to the scaffold. Like it jumps over to the scaffold, or like walks over, I guess. Climbs up it, and then you sort of, with a bit of showmanship, sort of bring everyone, like, you know, you're not going through Nisty at this point. You are directing the crowd yourself. And mind you, you're high as fuck while you're doing this.
Makes it better.
You step out slightly woozily in front of the crowd. Gamork comes up to your side. You bring up your crossbow. Gamork dissolves into shadow, wreathing your bolt in flame. You fire it towards the scaffold, which is consumed in black fire. And the crowd is hushed. And that's where we end it for tonight.
Huzzah!